People don't decide their future. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. These words, echoed by thinkers from Napoleon Hill to modern innovators like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, remind us that wisdom begins not with answers, but with understanding. Yet why is it that, even with so much knowledge around us, we still misjudge others so quickly? Why do we assume that our perspective is always the correct one? And why do we speak before listening, even when we know, deep down, that true clarity comes from patience? Today's story reveals the real power of perspective. You will discover how a simple moment with a young girl unlocks a lesson that many adults still overlook. And as you listen, you'll hear new expressive words like startled, vibrant, and gently woven into the tale, helping you grow your English while expanding your mindset. Stay with me until the end, because the insight waiting for you might just change the way you see people forever. Once, in a peaceful village surrounded by vibrant green fields, there lived a cheerful little girl named Emily. She woke to school every morning with a tiny backpack bouncing against her shoulders, humming her favorite tune. Emily loved her classes and adored her friends, but there was one subject that always made her nervous: math. Even simple problems left her puzzled, and she would quietly count on her fingers, hoping no one noticed. Still, what Emily lacked in numbers, she more than made up for in creativity. She was the best artist in her class. Her drawings were full of life, filled with bright colors that made her classmates gasp in admiration. One warm afternoon, her teacher, Mr. Johnson, asked the students to draw anything they wished. Emily's eyes sparkled. She opened her pencil box and began sketching with full concentration. When she finished, Mr. Johnson stopped beside her desk and said warmly, "Well done, Emily. Your artwork is truly beautiful." Hearing those words, Emily's heart fluttered with joy. She couldn't wait to show her mother. Later, when lunchtime arrived, Emily joined her friends at the school canteen. As they tried to split the cost of their snacks, Emily hesitated again, struggling to calculate her share. Her friends helped her kindly, but the whispers began spreading. Emily's really weak at math. Soon it was time for math class. Mr. Johnson held 3 crisp apples in his hand and said, "Imagine I gave you 1 apple, then another, and then 1 more. How many apples does that make?" The children answered in unison, but Emily, after counting on her fingers, smiled and said confidently, "5, sir." Mr. Johnson blinked, startled. He wondered if she had misunderstood, so he tried again, this time using strawberries. Emily counted and answered correctly. He returned to the apple question, placing each apple gently into her small hands. "Now tell me, 1 apple, then another, then 1 more." "How many?" Emily whispered. 4, sir." His patience began to fade. "Emily, I only gave you 3 apples. Why do you keep saying 4? Emily shrank back, her voice trembling. "Because I already have 1 apple in my backpack, sir." In that moment, the world seemed to pause. Mr. Johnson felt a wave of realization wash over him. The student he assumed was wrong was simply answering from her own perspective, a perspective he had not bothered to understand. He knelt beside her and said softly, "Emily, thank you for telling me. I understand now." Inside, he felt humbled. How quickly he had judged. How easily he had assumed he knew the whole story. And isn't that exactly what happens in our own lives? We think someone is wrong because their answer doesn't match ours. We think their opinion is flawed because it doesn't sound like what we believe. But just like Emily, they may be speaking from experiences we know nothing about. Sometimes their truth is simply shaped by things we didn't see. 5 plus 5 makes 10. That's true. But so does 6 plus 4. So does 7 plus 3. Different paths, same destination. Different thinking, same sincerity. When we forget this, we create unnecessary conflict. But when we pause, listen, and seek to understand, we become wiser, calmer, and more compassionate. So ask yourself, how many times have you judged someone without knowing their story? How many times have you spoken without listening? And how many opportunities for connection have you missed because you assumed your perspective was the only one that mattered? The next time you feel irritated, confused, or quick to correct someone, remember Emily. Remember the apple in her backpack. the unseen detail that changed everything. And remind yourself that true wisdom isn't about being right. It's about understanding before deciding. If this story touched your heart, then support this channel with a like, a share, and a thoughtful comment about what you learned today. Your words may seem small, but they encourage us enormously and help us bring you more inspiring stories every week. Thank you for listening. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and stay open to the many beautiful perspectives around you.